my favourite characters are Stan and Mitch, who are these kind of ridiculous, sort of self-conscious, like, if it was now, they'd be big fans of the Joker, you know.
Hello and welcome to Rock, Paper, Shotgun and My Favourite Thing In. This is where I, Colin Mahern, chat to one of the lovely RPS staffers about a spang new video game they've been playing, and I get them to tell me about their favourite thing in it. Today I'm talking to Deputy Editor Alice Bell about the procedurally generated, run-based, narrative-driven Road 96. I've also played it, so I'll probably stick my oar in occasionally, but she's been playing it for a review, so I wanted to get her to chat to me about it, but specifically, I wanted her to tell me, and of course you, about the one aspect of Road 96 that she enjoys more than anything else. So Alice, what is your favourite thing in Road 96?
My favourite thing in Road 96 is the procedural generation, the kind of random order that you can experience the story in.
So for people that don't know anything about Road 96, do you want to catch them up a little bit? Because it's quite odd for a game such as this to have its story delivered in a procedurally generated way.
Yeah, so it's set in a fictional country called Petria, but it's basically a North America analogy, right? It's basically the USA.
Yeah.
You play a succession of teenagers who are sort of throwing themselves at the northern border wall, which we would imagine to be, you know, the border with Canada. And your time in each teenager's shoes, in a first-person perspective, ends when your journey ends, either in success with them getting across the border or failing. And there are a number of ways that you can fail. So you might get caught, you might get arrested, you might die. So you play a different teenager every time, starting their journey. And your journey is sort of it's in segments. So maybe you're hitchhiking and it'll be, you know, the hitchhiker drops you off at a motel or a diner, or you'll walk along the road and you'll end up at a truck stop, or you'll steal a car at the truck stop because you find some keys, and then you drive to the next bit, which might be a party in the middle of nowhere, or that kind of thing. So it's punctuated by these little vignettes almost. And in each one, usually each one, sometimes not, you will meet one of 7 characters whose stories are all sort of intertwined. You cotton onto that quite quickly. And you don't know who you're going to meet next or which one of their little scenes you are going to see. Although there are some scenes that are more fixed, I think, but not many, because there is a broader story.
I do agree with you that I think in general the way the story is delivered it's different. It's what makes this game stand out, really.
Yeah.
But if I'm Joe Bloggs, who's listening to our chat, I'm going, hang on a second, you're telling me this is sort of like your Fire Watches, your Gone Homes, your whatever. It's story driven, but the story isn't told in sequence. Like, it sounds like it doesn't work, Alice. You know, sell it to me, imaginary person.
The story is basically the totalitarian government of Petria has decided to hold its election on the same day as it's holding a memorial for a terrorist attack that killed hundreds of people at the border 10 years ago.
It's a choice.
Yeah, it is a choice. It's the sort of choice one would only make if, for the sake of argument, they had a lot of narrative stories to wrap up at once. And so, you know, each teen you play is taking you a little bit closer to that date. And it works because you only meet each character once maximum as each teen. So each time they meet you, it's like they're meeting a new person. So there's no need to reference things that have happened in the past or might happen in the future. So each scene is self-contained. For example, there's a trucker who's one of the Black Brigade sort of leftist anarcho protest group. And he might pick you up if you're hitchhiking. And one time he might be telling you that he likes this woman that he's got a sort of CB radio relationship with called Mama Bear, and you're encouraging him to ask her on a date and helping him. And then also someone tries to steal all the pineapples in the back of the truck, so you shoot them with a nail gun, and that's your little kind of mini game and little interaction with him that time. And then as the next teenager, you might not meet him at all, and then maybe the third teenager, you meet him at a truck stop and he's on the phone to someone he knows called Thomas, and he's very angry with Thomas and he's shouting, and you can only hear his side of the conversation, and he's like, he's a kid, of course he wants to play along with it, you don't know what you're doing, Thomas. And he's yelling, he's very cross, and then you might not meet him again for a bit, and then maybe the sort of 5th teenager, you'll meet Thomas, or you might meet who he was on the phone to, or you might meet Mama Bear, who he was on the CB radio to, because they are all linked, and you find that out pretty quickly. The way you experience it can really, I think, change how you perceive the story and the order and how you feel about certain characters.
Yeah. The game does also tell you that certain choices you make impact the story. It appears to be only specific interactions that will impact the story, but we did see differences between our playthroughs.
Yeah.
Now, how different it is, or even you said that whilst it is hanging its hat on procedural generation, perhaps there are certain fixed scenes as well in the story.
It feels like there are maybe a couple, not loads, but a couple that sort of have to happen at the same time just to keep it ticking along. But I don't think it ruins anything, really. It's one character, really, who feels a little bit more fixed than the others. But the other thing that's cool is that you get tools from the different characters that carry over from teen to teen. My favourite characters are Stan and Mitch, who are these kind of ridiculous, sort of self-conscious, like, if it was now, they'd be big fans of the Joker, you know, they're these sort of Drugian thieves that go around on a motorbike yelling, Stan and Mitch, a lot, and they pronounce scared, like scared, in a self-conscious way that's very charming. And they give you a lockpick eventually. I got the lockpick last, whereas you got it quite early. You got the hacking quite late, is that right?
Yes.
I got the hacking first. So I can hack my way into safes or security codes early on, whereas I couldn't open locked doors to offices, which would maybe have given me access to more car keys to steal cars, and that means you can go further sometimes, you know. So that changes it up as well. And it is very openly quite political. You know, it's not pretending it's not analogous to anything. The government is presented as a right-wing government, and it's not telling you that it's wrong to resist. Your choice is what is the right way to resist, which is quite interesting. And obviously I don't see a problem with that because I'm a big lefty, but it'd be interesting to see how it's perceived more generally. And it'd be interesting to see how those dialogue choices might affect things, how big the effect is, because it's hard to judge after only, you know, one and a bit plays through. But you made the very good point that if it was told in a linear fashion, it perhaps wouldn't be as kind of arresting and interesting as it is, because I think you'd kind of be able to see a lot of the twists coming quite quickly.
Yeah, the way that they dole out the scenes actually is to the benefit of the game, because I don't think that the story is strong enough to keep you going if it was just told from A to B, but the procedural generation actually, I don't know, it's enough to drive you through.
Yeah, it's sometimes very, very, I think rarely, it might go a little bit hinky. Like I got dropped off by one of these characters into a scene, which they then later came back into and then left again, which came off as a little bit weird of them to do. But in general, I think, it's a really nice way of sort of doling out the story in a very different way. And it's a little bit exciting, you know, after every load screen, you're sort of like, oh, who's it going to be now? I hope it's Stan and Mitch again. I haven't seen them, you know, for a while.
Thanks very much for chatting with me today, Alice. And if you, dear viewer, would like to check out Alice's full thoughts on Road 96, then be sure to have a read of a written review of the game on the website. Thanks very much for watching, you absolute star. We hope to see you again soon as we learn more about people's favourite things in video games. Now, unlike Road 96, this outro always runs in sequence, because if you're a regular viewer, you know the bit that I'm about to say next. If you're new here, then I will ask you to remember this very important thing from this video. For all of your PC gaming needs, keep it on rockpapershotgun.com.